Single speed, not much can go wrong.
Not much can go wrong unless the cement truck mows you down.
The fact that our parkways are so car-centric, you know, not the experience I mean here. We're away. We didn't like that when we were on Marshall. Now we're here and like, it's peaceful.
We're rolling. We're rolling.
This is a real thing. Real thing.
None of you have the balls to stop this. Stop this.
I've got plenty of time. I have nothing else going on today.
We're in the Wedge neighborhood right now.
Here we are on the Wedge Live podcast. I'm here with Dan Engelhart, who is running for Minneapolis Park and Rec Board in District 1. Welcome to the bike ride edition of the Wedge Live podcast, Dan.
Thank you.
Slow it down, Dan. You get too much energy. It's 89 degrees out here.
It is warm. Very warm.
We're going to take it at a conversational pace. We're starting at Boom Island Park along the Mississippi River. Dan, why are you running for Park Board?
I'm running for Park Board because I believe in this political moment. We need strong leaders that are going to stand on values and engage the whole community. And when people, when they may not agree, or try to get them to understand why tough decisions need to be made, we're going to have some really tough choices with the federal situation, if you will, and budget. So yeah, I mean, we saw a 22-day long strike with our staff that keep up the parks, and we had storms and trees down last summer, and we had park board commissioners 21 days into the strike with an action during a park board meeting saying they didn't know enough about the contract, or even worse yet, defending management's unfair labor practice proposals. That contract's going to be up in this next commissioner's term. We're about to bike through Graco Park, which is a whole long story about people, either with a combination of the city or the park board, not getting an agreement in writing, and then Graco suing to get this easement that we're about to bike through. So I'm a lifelong organizer. I believe that in people having power, and I've always been one to say I'd never run for office, that I get other people to get out of their comfort zone and take up leadership. But in this moment, I really saw last year during the strike and some other recent decisions of the park board, a lack of leadership, a lack of respecting community engagement, and a need. And I think we need strong leadership at all levels of government. And I was very involved with the park board when I served on AVCAC, the Above the Falls Community Advisory Committee, which is in charge of everything above this bridge here upstream to city limits, or was. That organization basically fell apart with the death of a strong leader, Mary McGuire. She was awesome, and then COVID also didn't help much. But here we have Graco Park, and now and Graco got basically everything they wanted, was a terrible actor with a lawsuit when this easement had to come through to get money that was there for the economic recovery through the Obama administration. And it's great, but now what's going to happen with all this property? They were going to build their world headquarters right here on a 2.2 acre parcel, I believe, that they got at market rate. So there's a lot of questions. What's going to happen with this property, and exactly how much poop are these geese going to leave?
So Dan, what kind of thing would you like to see happen with the Graco site?
I mean, I think we're going to need to reinvigorate the Above the Falls Community Advisory Committee for so many reasons, but also this Graco site. And we really got to talk to the community. I mean, I know people are hopeful for housing. It's a huge industrial site. I would imagine everything they use to make sprayers and different industrial products in there is still fine. I mean, they own it. They got tax incentive financing, so it's going to be complicated. And most importantly, I think, we need to respect the Above the Falls plan and the River First plan with anything on the river like this, and really engage the whole community and have meaningful input and conversation. I mean, my personal hope, I think I don't really have like anything totally like it's my agenda with the Graco site. I just know it's going to be a boondoggle. And the only way through that is really having a lot of community engagement and involvement and people feeling like their voice matters.
We have a hard time attracting good park board candidates. Nobody wants it. It's a part-time job.
Yeah.
Low pay. You're basically a glorified neighborhood association member in terms of the compensation and the hassle and the stress of it.
Right.
So was it the union stuff, the park workers strike, that really motivated you to do this? When you think about like the one thing that really got you off your butt and made you want to do this thing that's going to be a pain in the ass for 4 years for very little pay, like what was the thing?
Well, I'd say definitely the 22-day long strike and the absolutely, it's just ridiculous. I couldn't believe it that our park workers were going to possibly go on strike on the 4th of July, and then sure enough, it's like we're going on strike, and I'm like, well, I guess I got to go march with them, and the fact that it went on for 22 days, that's what, really got me thinking about it. And more recently, people had said, well, what's going to take for you to run? We could do better on the east side. And, I did read that MinnPost article where Commissioner Tom Olson is talking about how it's kind of a fool's errand to do it for so little pay and so much time. So I thought about it. A lot of people kept asking me and said, if you run, I'll do this for you, I'll do that for you. And I started looking more into different votes and what the incumbent was doing and not doing. And I decided to run. And I was on AVCAC, as I said, the Above the Falls Community Advisory Committee. I put a lot of time into that. I'm involved in community. I do tons of unpaid work. So it's like a different way to focus my time, but with a lot of the same focus, I guess. Community engagement and getting people to understand how they have power. So it feels like the right thing to do at the right moment.
So I can think of the reasons I'm disappointed in Billy Mentz, who's the incumbent commissioner.
Yeah.
Do you have any specific criticisms of him? Why he shouldn't get a second term? I think Naomi Kritzer has this theory of park and school board commissioners that like it's hard enough to get people to do these jobs. So if somebody is reasonably competent, you probably reelect them if they're willing to commit to a second term. So give me the problems with Billy.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you have to distinguish yourself. Why are you running against an incumbent? I like Billy personally. He's a nice guy, and I think that he will also say he doesn't think it's a political position, or he doesn't want to politicize it. And I have no idea what that means.
Right.
When we'll have to go across and up. I have no idea how you can say a position that literally is elected through a political process isn't political, and that has as big of a budget as it does, and the decisions are clearly made in a political manner, isn't political. And I think when, sometimes there's a politician I worked for in 2002 that people like to talk about a lot, that you might not always agree with him, but you always know where he stands. And the opposite can be said about Billy. He wants you to agree with him all the time, but you might not know where he stands. He'll switch his vote.
Right.
And I was really disappointed last summer on the strike. The fact that he was on strike. We've had legacy strikes. I'm wearing a shirt from the trucker strike of 1934 here in Minneapolis, the educator strike in 22, and last year our park board. And I was on his picket line a ton, and picket lines all over in 22, and he was nowhere to be found during the strike. And on the 21st day when we had an action and went in and effectively occupied the park board meeting. We had commissioners saying they didn't know enough about the contract, and we had Billy defending management's unfair labor practice proposals. And that's just absurd. So I started watching videos and doing more things when I was thinking about it. So I definitely have that criticism. There's the Uptown Mall situation, which, you know, we could get into at great length, but at any event, like just ignoring the community input that took years is the opposite of democracy. It's just, you know, trying to being a weather vane and easily influenced by what I believe to be money in that case. So there's that. There was recently a decision to eliminate 3 youth programming positions to improve pavement or asphalt, which I will always prioritize people and jobs and youth over pavement. So I mean, I could go on. I think he seems to be incredibly focused on baseball, and that's great. I think we should have robust baseball and a whole lot more. So yeah.
I was very upset by the Uptown Mall vote because it just went on forever, and he changed his vote. Like, he voted one way 2 weeks earlier, then a different way
Right.
2 weeks later, and I never understood why. He made a big deal about how about the fire safety and the width of the lanes, and then his ultimate resolution didn't fix that at all.
Right.
It's like, he didn't even address his own complaints in his proposed solution. He just went against what the long-range plan said. He went against what the actual public engagement said, and the result was, instead of, you know, trading 24 parking spaces that the park board's own parking study showed weren't necessary, like there was enough parking, we could have had green space there.
Right.
And because, you know, the former DFL chair lives a couple of blocks away and didn't want it to happen, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Is that the money aspect that you were referring to?
Some of it, there's even more money. I mean, the people just north of the Uptown Mall there have some of the most wealth in the city, you know, and that wealth equals power in our current reality. And that seems to be the only, to say, oh, people need to park where technically overnight parking's not allowed, and they need to park to be able to get to work, I think was one of the public statements. I mean, yes, I'm a union guy through and through, but you know, that's absurd. And when you live in a city, in a major, you can't expect to park right in front of where you live or right in front of where you're going. That's just not sustainable in any way. So yeah, I think it was people not wanting renters to park anywhere near their house that is probably valued at over $1 million at any house in that neighborhood.
Do you bike for transportation?
I do, yeah. And often this very bike right here. Single speed, not much can go wrong.
Not much can go wrong unless the cement truck mows you down.
Yeah, we have Marshall Concrete Products, which is actually technically bought out by Simstone right here on the river, which that's a big part of the Above the Falls plan and the River First plan is ideally what it is to get the industry off the river and to have an accessible path on both sides of the river. And obviously we have a long way to go.
I want everyone to know Dan picked this route. If you can hear all the truck traffic that's basically
we'll go
on our asses
we'll get
here.
this light and cross. We want to see the herons, John.
Okay, we're turning left.
Yep. Okay.
Ooh. Okay, we made it.
See? Marshall Terrace Park.
So is there a plan to connect a bike route up to here?
The Above the Falls / River First plan, they're sort of synonymous, is to have an accessible bike and walking path on both sides of the river.
Because I would refer to that bike lane as a high stress bikeway.
That is not very fun, no. And then on Marshall itself, there's I mean, to call it a plan might be a little bit of a stretch, but I mentioned Mary McGuire earlier. She was a big proponent of, it's the missing connector for the whole bikeway from the headwaters to New Orleans is right here, not having an accessible bike path. So the Great River Route, bike route, is terrible right there, and we need to fix that. But yeah, here's the overlook. So these two islands are a heron rookery, and great blue herons are really neat birds, and if you're out in the wilderness, they don't, if you canoe anywhere near them, they'll get up and fly away. But this rookery used to be north of the Camden Bridge on one big island, and then the 2011 tornado came through and they moved down here. And they've been thriving, but that's interesting seeing that tree down. It must be, I haven't been here since that was down. But yeah, herons, almost every branch is a nest.
I've seen this on TV. I've never seen it in person, I don't think.
Yeah, it's really cool. And you can walk down when the water's lower and there's like a beach.
So one of the things that got controversial post-pandemic, so they tried out open parkways during the pandemic, where like everybody's out walking, wanting to be outside, and we realized like our park paths are kind of narrow. The space we have for pedestrians and bikes is a little bit limited. Why don't we close down the parkways, give pedestrians and bikes more space to move around? And it was popular, I thought, but then after the pandemic, when they tried to do a pilot for open parkways to install these gates so you could occasionally shut down the parkways, maybe you have events, that became so controversial among a small group of people who had held sway with the current park board majority, and like they did away with it, and they're like, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
Is that something you think is a good idea?
Yeah, I think obviously like we had a real need with social distancing during the beginning of the pandemic. That said, seeing so many people out there with so much more space, I mean, we didn't just have to do that during the pandemic. The fact that our parkways are so car-centric, is not the experience. I mean, here we're away. We didn't like that when we were on Marshall. Now we're here, and like it's peaceful, except for we have a little bit of construction going over here with the Upper Harbor Terminal project. But we're not worried about getting hit by a car with all that noise. And it was interesting being a part of AVCAC and the community input on the Upper Harbor Terminal. We had people saying, what about seniors or people with mobility issues? Like, so now there's going to be a road right up to the water, basically, because of compromise. And there are ways to move people without cars, and that's, I mean, no matter what your level of ability or not is, we can get people where they need to go, where it's not basically harming everyone else's experience, and it's sort of exclusionary, like the first 10 cars that get there get to be there now, and that's it, or what? And then, back to the parkways, we have to shift the traffic away from the parkways in general. I mean, St. Anthony Parkway in this district just it continues to be just bombed out. It's a horrible driving experience, but it's a throughway for us because of the way traffic patterns are in Northeast. So yeah, more open parkways makes sense. Back to the Uptown Mall and the fire, the emergency vehicles. I think it's a lot easier for emergency vehicles to not have to wait for cars to get out of the way. So if it was,
I see plenty of emergency vehicles, ambulances, fire trucks using bike lanes.
Yeah,
because it's easy for bikes and pedestrians to hop out of the way, in the way that you can't hop out of the way if you're in a car. You're just kind of stuck in the way.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone comes to a park to be in a car, to be near car traffic, no matter who you are, your age, your ability. I don't think that's why people come to the parks. Obviously, you need a way to get to the parks, but once you're in the parks,
that's not the point of the park, is to sit in your car, unless
you want to
you're
be
at
outdoors.
Ridgeway Park, where the best sunsets are in Minneapolis. People tend to like to sit in their car there, but for some reason.
Shouldn't be controversial. I feel like if we had more people involved in caring about park issues and who the candidates are, there's just a lack of interest in a way that like encourages us to have what I call clunker candidates. Just a more conservative park board than the city otherwise would elect, because there's no visibility.
Well, yeah, and certainly this side of the river, I mean, District 1 is no longer all of the east side of the river, but if you don't have, a enough community engagement and approaching it like I say, like an organizer, where people can understand that they have power and how they have power, then you're left with people that present as if only they can figure it out and use words with as many syllables as possible to make it seem all complicated and convoluted. When it's like, these are our parks, these are our programming, how can we make sure it's meeting the community needs, you know?
I think people would be surprised how big the budget is for the park board.
It's so big.
How do we get people excited? Like,
Yeah.
how are you going to run a campaign that gets people excited? Maybe you win because you juice turnout. Like, what are you running on that's going to get people excited about park issues?
I mean, I think that Minneapolis wants to consider itself a union town. I think we have a long way to go, so I think basing in core union values, when you have a workplace and a workforce that's about welcoming and belonging, and the greatest good for the greatest number, that emanates out to everything and everywhere. It's the largest employer of youth in our city. So that's a big deal. People ought to care about that. But then parks are just a huge part of our identity. People move here because of the parks. People stay here because of the parks. I'm here because I love the aspects of an urban environment, but I need the green space and I need the access to something that feels a little bit more nature oriented. And I think that's the same for so many of us here. And we have a promise of our parks, you know, based in our charter and various documents, but it's not being actualized for the southeast neighborhood. All they have is Van Cleef Park. They're not getting that. And then you have, so there's just so much. You know, how do we get our programming to really be there for our current reality here in 2025? How do we meet the budget funding problems that are just inevitable? You know, there's only so many, one idea. Like, I'd love to have my canoe down there at Boom Island where we met, but there's a waiting list and a lottery. And why don't we just have more canoe and kayak racks? And that could raise revenue. I'd pay $250 or whatever it is, but I just can't get on the list because I forget to apply in time, or lottery doesn't work, or whatever.
Well, you could sacrifice one parking spot or two
Yeah.
or three.
Yep.
And add more canoes. If we have a canoe parking crisis, seems like we could solve it.
I think we could solve it, and that could raise revenue and get more people on the water, and yeah, more access to canoes as well, and kayaks and whatever kind of thing they want to float on. You gotta get people to understand that how they have power, how they have agency. And yeah, you know, I'll elect me and I'll be there on Wednesdays and other places, but I need you and we need each other. And you have to have the political will. You have to have people showing up, engaging, because otherwise I'm just a guy, you know?
Right.
It needs all of us.
I was talking to Tom Olson about this, and I was like, how do we change the dynamic where the park board is just like 2 notches more conservative than what we elect to city council?
Right.
And he was like, we need to get our progressive orgs involved in caring about park board elections.
Yeah.
In a way that it gets overshadowed by city council and mayor by the time you get to park board. Like, the groups don't care as much.
So we can go on St. Anthony Parkway here as we're talking about parkways. And
okay, we got a path here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Supposedly, look at it.
Let's do
right
it.
there. We'll go up over a relatively new bridge here. But yeah, the industrial flavor of Northeast remains.
Industrial on the river.
Yeah, that's the thing. And it made sense when there was barge traffic, but the upper lock has been closed for a decade or 9 years now. And no more barge traffic, no more dredging, so it's time to get the at least accessible and more cleaned up river. It's technically a national park from Dayton to Hastings. Doesn't look much like one right around here. But yeah, I think the progressive orgs, also, frankly, you know, I'm a career union organizer, business agent, negotiator, but unions got to think about what support means and who they're endorsing differently as well. Take actions planning to endorse,
Have they done that in previous elections?
I don't believe so for Park Board. So that's exciting.
Woo!
And look at the, so many trains. It's kind of fascinating. It gets even bigger up there.
This route makes me wish I had an e-bike.
Yeah, we have hills in Northeast. The highest point in Minneapolis.
This right here?
No, it's I don't think we'll go that far.
Don't take me to the highest point in Minneapolis.
It's called Deming Heights Park. It's a really cool place for the sunset, though.
Golf carts. Woo. What are we not talking about? Public safety?
Oh yeah, public safety. I mean, that's a huge piece. I mean, Minneapolis is having an ongoing identity around public safety, I guess. You know, we have 5 years post the park police being the first law enforcement responding to George Floyd and everything that happened from there and the murder. And we hear the park board employs 150 police. And they have all the power of any other police officer, but with including, carrying weapons and all of that, but with a different focus, right, on our parks. And we're living in a moment with people being disappeared to death camps and you name it, yet we still have our mayor saying he can't do anything to hold police accountable because of collective bargaining, just cause, and arbitration, which is just utter lies. And we'll go right. And frankly, union busting language. And it's causing death and harm and huge money settlements to the families of those that get killed due to the lie. And at its core, it's union busting. I just got done, we just got the ballots counted at McAllister. We just organized McAllister staff. And it's exactly what the union busting playbook is to say you can't hold people accountable because of a union, when a core union value is quality work. So we stand up for quality work. We want to be an employer of choice, but we're also going to hold people accountable when they don't do quality work. And I think excessive force and explicit bias, which can be defined and followed under the 7 tests of just cause, is just very straightforward, very clear. I've represented state employees for 13 years under the same state law, PELRA, and I see people get, terminated for far less than killing people, and the level of discipline people will get for saying a racial slur one time is a suspension at a minimum at this point, with witnesses. So we can have an accountable public safety, law enforcement force, but we can also do a whole lot more. I mean, it's bigger than policing. How do we get a sense of community and belonging in the park where people aren't even gonna mess around there? It's gonna be a community-based safety vibe, That's the real way forward, is for people to feel like it's their park. Say something, see something, say something, but that doesn't mean call 911. That means have a conversation, hey, what's going on in your life? I saw you yelling at that person, or that sort of thing. That's the way forward. But people being in the parks. So there's some things like figuring out lighting that can help safety, or what can we do to have a response that isn't violent or armed. And I will say, in our reality, and very sadly in Minnesota's reality, there's so many guns out there that to just say we don't need an armed response to an armed problem.
I feel like we've gotten beyond that in Minneapolis. That's
Yeah.
not even,
Yeah.
nobody is saying abolish the police except for the mayor's PACs scaring people. If
Yeah,
you don't elect the mayor and his friends, all the police will go away. We got addicted to that campaign line in 2021, and they're not going to give it up.
Yeah. I think we are beyond it too.
What's the vibe in District 1 with regard to crime and public safety? Because I whenever I look at the crime stats for Ward 1, which has overlap
Yeah, yeah.
with District 1. It's like lowest in the city, it feels like.
Do you want to
Like-
stop and shoot some bow and arrow?
Oh, we can do that?
Well, if we had bows and arrows, but yeah, you can do
I
it
didn't
right
bring
here.
mine.
I didn't know you didn't bring your bow.
No.
I didn't bring mine either. I don't have one.
But
But
when I
I've often thought I would get one just to come here.
when I look at the crime stats, it feels like this is a sleepy little part of Minneapolis where no crime happens. Like, does that affect the politics? Are people happier here?
Yeah, I mean, I think the stats are real, and it's been that way for a long time. So, are people happier on the east side of the river in District 1 or Ward 1? I kind of think so. I mean, there's a vibe that is kind of like a small town in the city. So back to that, like, neighbor accountability, community piece that can be reflected in our block or in our park. I do think that exists here more so than other parts of the city.
Oh God, Dan, why did you pick this route? I feel like Elliot Payne took me on this route. You guys just want to punish me.
I only have one gear though, John.
I got 3. Oh. Woo.
This is the parking lot controversy.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
Chris Meyer was accused of hating children.
Yeah, and probably more. Yeah, I mean, people over pavement, that's a pretty easy slogan to...
I mean, the park board is not going to sell you their parkland to make a parking lot. Not even the worst park commissioner will do that.
Right, except for when they do.
Well, that turned out okay, though, right?
I think so, but, are people still mad at each other? Probably.
Well, you got any ideas what budgeting during a time of fiscal hardship is going to be like?
I think it's going to be really hard. I think hard choices are going to need to be made. I think there's creative ways, like we talked about earlier, more boat parking, and then, you can charge for that. It's currently being charged for. I've heard some very creative ideas, like opening up more parks to weddings and other events. So what kind of like fee for service will go, hopefully, this way. That's the highest park in Minneapolis, but we won't go up the hill. So I think we really got to look at like what can we do to raise revenue that's outside of the property tax levy and the standard money that we're looking at. And then when we're confronted with hard choices, we really got to engage the community in a way that works for them. And, money isn't going to influence me and not the people that I'm in community with. So it's got to be real community-based decision making with the money we do have. But there's no doubt that financial troubles are ahead.
How's the campaign going? Do you have any big name endorsements happening anytime soon? Are you raising a lot of money?
I mean, money came in, definitely not a lot of money. I think it's all very public at one point or another. So I think we're at about $5,000 total. And again, didn't get in the race until late April, very late April.
So you will be able to compete with all the uptown money that is flooding into Billy Men's campaign.
There will be that, and then we have our own players up here in Northeast that don't like.
Have you considered nicknaming him Uptown Billy? Do the Trump thing where you give your opponent a nickname, Uptown Billy?
I mean, that's a very interesting idea. Yeah, so the money, money's coming in. Okay, and more should be coming in. There's somebody who's really good at fundraising that's going to be hosting a fundraiser with a probably now post-city convention. There's a few other networks that I've just started to tap into. Like I was staff on, we'll go left and right, Wellstone 02, so watch that car. So they should be coming through with some money, some other networks I have. But yeah. I mean, in an ideal world, people will get excited and just start to donate money, whether it's in large or small amounts. And I'd like to, there's some people that have donated things like the website. That was all a committee kind of donated time and skill, effort. I'd like to pay them. Kind of a friend came over and in 1 hour banged out like everything you need to do to get a campaign off the ground, because I've only done field really. And they obviously deserve to get paid for their time, but they don't care if they get paid or not. And then my campaign director, I want to pay her and others. I mean, we could employ a bunch of people if enough money comes in, but I think we're set and in good shape to win the DFL endorsement July 19th.
Oh, you feel good about that?
Feeling real good about it, yeah. I don't think there's a world in which Billy gets endorsed. It's just a matter of whether or not there is an endorsement, because there's only going to be 2 ballots.
For a while, I couldn't tell if he was running for the DFL endorsement or not.
Well, yeah, because in January, when we had a special election up here for our state Senate seat, he basically just sent out a long form email bashing the DFL endorsement, so pretty confusing. And I think the DFL endorsement is a very important process. Sure, it's wild and goofy and all these things happen, but as my experience last summer as an uncommitted delegate engaging with other uncommitted delegates across the country and recruiting ceasefire delegates, there's Minnesota and the DFL, and there's every other state party that's a Democratic party with the exception of maybe Hawaii, and that's got its own problems with access. We have so much access and ability to participate here because of the DFL endorsement process. And to bash it in this time is just wild to me. Like, you can, when you're a DFL candidate that got the DFL endorsement in 21 unopposed and has been there as a DFL person, like, go join another party then or something, be an independent. But I find tremendous value in the DFL endorsement process, and I think we should be proud of it and strengthen it, not bash it.
So after your first term is over, how do people think of you? Like, what's your signature issue? What do they say? I'm glad Dan was there because X happened.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think Graco Park and everything around that. This is kind of a tough traverse here.
It is.
I didn't know this was here, sorry. I didn't think about
Okay,
it.
are we going straight across?
Yeah, we're going across.
Okay.
So, you know, everything around Graco Park is gonna be a huge deal.
Got a new bike path going in here. This is nice.
Yeah, this is part of the livable Lowry. We did that part last year, and now it's gonna go up to
Very cool.
Johnson. Yeah, and Lowry's been so terrifying to
Yeah, this is gonna
walk
be
on the
nice.
sidewalk even, and now
Are
it's
they narrowing it a great deal too?
yeah, taking it from 4 lanes to a 4-3 conversion, and yeah, it's gonna be good.
Me in Ward 10 in the Wedge area, I'm missing out on all the exciting things happening across the river.
I know, that's why we're like a small town in the city, like kind of people don't get over here as much.
If I lived here, this would be like the best thing that ever happened to me in my whole life. I feel like.
I like it. I mean, it needed to happen. Lowry was just not very pleasant. Yeah, so the campaign's going well. I mean, we feel great about the logo. We talked about the heron. That's why there's a heron on it. There's all these things. You got to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, a logo? Gosh, okay.
Everybody's using a bird. Everybody's using a bird.
Yeah, Portlandia. You got to, you know, we're Minneapolis, not Portland.
Minneapolis Park Board candidate put a bird on it.
Yeah, exactly. But the heron is a real symbol of resilience, and the fact that we have a heron rookery in a, you know, District 1 park or on near. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to win the DFL endorsement. I think, you know, the question really is about whether or not there is an endorsement, not whether or not Billy gets endorsed or I get endorsed. To me, I mean, the numbers are looking really good. The calls are super fun because, you know, I went to the Ward 1 convention, get a standing ovation and cheering, and talked to a whole bunch of people that, like in my own precinct, which I'm the precinct chair, I knew every single person by name on that Tuesday, and I hadn't decided to run, I hadn't even thought about running for park board at that point. But, you know, in all of Ward 1, I don't know everybody at this point by name, but you talk to them at the convention because now you're a candidate. Same with Ward 2. And it's like, oh, geez, I didn't track all those conversations I had. So then you make the call and you're like, yeah, I've talked to you a bunch of times. You're awesome. I'm supporting you. Like, oh, so now we can mark them down as a.
So is the district,
Strong
District
supporter.
1 is all of Ward 1
Yep.
and Ward 2? Part of
No,
Ward 2?
it is most of the east side of the river. It used to be the entire east side of the river in Minneapolis. So it's all of Ward 1, Ward 3 districts or precincts 1 through 4, and Ward 2, 1 through 5, or 1 through 6. I don't know, 7 and 9 or something. They redistricting cut out Marcy Holmes, sadly, so made it a little more conservative, I guess. It's like not specific to neighborhood, but a significant part of Ward 3 on the east side of the river is now in District 4, is what it amounts to. But it's all
Feels like it should be a progressive who holds that seat.
Oh yeah, I mean it's probably the most progressive district.
The pressure is on for you to win it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I don't do things to not put everything I have into them, you know. I tend to win things I put my mind to. We just won McAllister. We win campaigns.
So big name endorsements, you got any of those coming? You don't have to say who they are, but can we expect any?
Yeah, I think so. I guess since we spent a fair amount of time talking about Billy, the people that I've been in conversation and community and relationship with just kind of want to tell you why they're endorsing. So if you don't call them back by now, Billy, anytime, I guess. I think it's fair to, really reasonable to want to tell the incumbent why they're endorsing someone else. And I do have, my own union's endorsement, OPIU Local 12. So I'm labor endorsed, and Stonewall DFL, the senior caucus of the DFL.
Oh really? You have the senior caucus?
I do have the senior caucus endorsement. I
didn't see that on your website.
I haven't put it up yet because I've been busy. But yeah, on the 23rd, I got the letter from the senior caucus endorsement.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Do you want to buy this house with me?
It looks like it'll take a lot of work. As a fixer-upper.
Yeah. But yeah, this District 1 really should be represented by a progressive. I mean, we've seen the switch, demographically as well as politically to having Elliot Payne now. And he represents this Ward 1 so well and is so loved. And I mean, obviously the juxtaposition from Elliot to the prior council member, there's a few things that happened. A lot of hard work that I was a part of, and the demographics changing, and the political environment changing, and then Elliot being just a great candidate and now a great council member. And we need someone more aligned with the demographics of this neighborhood, for sure, this area, part of the city. It's many neighborhoods. And the folks in Southeast Como will just tell you a story that is absolutely factual about their lack of access to parks and bike paths, and that they're often considered as if they're maybe just a part of St. Paul. But I think, yeah, in 4 years, like, what's the signature achievement? I think a rebuilt AFCAC above the Falls Community Advisory Committee, a LIUNA 363 contract, and every other contract that's settled to be union labor contract, and other non-union represented to be in a place where they feel like they work for the employer of choice in their area, whether they're an arborist or a clerical worker. To see people believing that their engagement and input matters, and that we can, bring programming up to where it needs to be. Like to see swimming lessons and lifeguards expanded. I love Michael Wilson's vision for that, and it happens to be the same as mine. We were both lifeguards, fun fact. I just never was a lifeguard for the Park and Recreation Board.
So as far as programming goes, is that a question of, obviously that's a big budget question. Can we afford that? And what do we sacrifice?
Right, that's gonna be front and center for this next park board term of like, what are we sacrificing and how do we fund it? Where do we get money from? I mean, Minnesota's gonna have to get more brave with taxing the top tier. Walls wasn't willing to lead on that this session. We have to work with all levels of government and funding in a way that it doesn't seem like this current board is even interested in, let alone capable of. But I think there's also ways we can raise money that aren't, as traditional, like this is my house, by the way.
Oh, well, let's not dox you on a podcast.
Oh, why
We're
not?
gonna have to blur that house.
Blur the house. Yeah, I think that there's also questions of like, what will people pay for? Like, and also like how to make sure that's accessible, like sliding scale, and the sliding scale can be 0, but are people, if you can have a conversation saying you want to have yoga in the park, the yoga instructor needs to get paid, but it also can be free, and we need to raise revenue because the person who mows the grass needs to get paid too. I think you can do that, and it's just about having honest conversations and all along the way, not taking away access. I think we're gonna have to be creative in this political moment, but also thinking about abundance and making those that can pay their fair share, which we've fallen away from at every level of government in this country for decades now.
Well, Dan, I think we're coming close to the end. Is there anything else you would like to say?
I mean, I hope I can earn every single delegate's support for July 19th. I believe that if we can have a real conversation, that's totally possible. And if I'm not able to, that I can earn your support by November election rather. I was thinking of July 20th. It's a one-day convention now. If you feel so inclined, any campaign could use money. As we've talked about today, this position doesn't pay very much. It's not as much of a
Springboard?
Yeah, some people might see it as a springboard. That's not how I'm viewing it by any means, but all the campaigns could use money. Donate your time, your effort. The park board matters. It's a huge budget. It has tons of power, and not enough people are active and engaged. And in this moment, we need people active and engaged in every level of government. So hope to earn your support, and if you've been paying attention, following along this whole time, I appreciate that as well. Thanks, John.
Dan, can we do a high five here? Can we do a moving high five?
Yeah.
I don't know if that worked.
A triple pat, I'll try again. There you go.
There we go. Well, thank you, Dan. My guest is Dan Engelhart, who is a candidate for Minneapolis Park Board in District 1. And he will see you at the Minneapolis DFL convention if you're a delegate.
At the Target Center.
Target Center. You'll see me too. I'm your host, John Edwards. This has been the Wedge Live podcast. Thank you for listening.
This is a real thing. Real thing.
None of you have the balls to stop this. Stop this.
I've got plenty of time. I have nothing else going on today.
We're in the Wedge neighborhood right now.